Hello and welcome. I am Dr. Laramay, a clinical pharmacist specializing in functional medicine, as well as a certified yoga teacher and Reiki master. I run a truly integrative health coaching practice, encompassing functional medicine lab testing, yoga and meditation, and a sprinkling of Reiki energy medicine. Join me here on Light Body Radio to break through your health plateau and come into alignment with your natural vitality. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Light Body Radio. I hope everyone's having a great summer and had a great 4th of July. Today I want to talk to you about a little thing called forgiveness. I had a really interesting conversation with a close friend of mine over the holiday weekend about this topic, and it brought up some interesting challenges and some points of discussion, and I really would like to honor everyone's sometimes struggle or wherever they are. And we really want to meet you where you are now with this topic. And I know it's not an easy one, but I want to talk about forgiveness in the context of the way it's taught in A Course in Miracles. And if you're not familiar with the Course, it's a spiritual text that guides us to undo fear that we've been taught ever since we were born and remember love. And one of the ways that we remember love is through forgiveness. So I personally know how powerful forgiveness is, and it's something that does not, again, it doesn't come naturally to any of us really, because we are taught the dichotomy of, I'll just call it like a sinner versus a saint, or, to be good or to be bad. And so this whole concept of forgiveness through a lot of Christian or even many religious dogmas is that in order to forgive, that you must accept sin or negativity or a badness or being bad. But from this, through the Course in Miracles, is a totally different approach to it. And it's really about recognizing the light in yourself and then recognizing the light in another person, even if you perceive that person has done you wrong or has hurt you or has, quote, sinned in any way. So this practice of forgiveness can really be so transformational. It can be freeing. It can really help you release tons of negative emotion and baggage that you're carrying around with you. It can even help you prevent manifesting your own disease, because, if we're carrying around anger and resentment, and if we do that for many, many years, then eventually that energy starts to manifest into something physical, and sometimes it can manifest into actual physical disease processes for us. So this practice of forgiveness can be life-altering on so many different levels. So first, I really want to talk about the myths and sort of dispel some major myths around forgiveness. Actually, I lied. So I want to read you a passage from A Course in Miracles so that you get more of an understanding of where I'm coming from with this message. And so this is from lesson 122 of the Course, and I'm just going to read it directly from the text that I have. The unforgiving mind is full of fear, and it offers love no room to be itself, no place where it can spread its wings in peace and soar above the turmoil of the world. The unforgiving mind is sad, without the hope of respite and release from pain. It suffers and abides in misery, peering about in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of the danger lurking there. The unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused about itself and all that it sees, afraid and angry, weak, blustering, afraid to go ahead, afraid to stay, afraid to waken or even go to sleep, afraid of every sound, yet more afraid of stillness than anything else, terrified of darkness, yet more terrified at the approach of light. The unforgiving mind is in despair, without the prospect of a future where it can offer anything more but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible, and does not see it has condemned itself to this despair. It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness that the judgment is correct. It does not ask, because it thinks it already knows. It does not question, certain that it is right. Forgiveness is an acquired practice. As sin was an idea that we were taught, forgiveness also must be learned, but from a teacher other than ourselves. Through love, you learn how to forgive the self that you made. Thus, you return to your mind as one with love, one with your true self, one who can actually never sin. So again, that was an excerpt from lesson 121. I think I said 122 earlier, but so as you forgive, you feel this release of all of that negativity that they just talked about in that passage, and you truly start to come to a place of peace. So myth number one about forgiveness is that it's really about it's all about the other person, or the person that you feel wronged by. And really, it's important to remember that forgiveness is a blessing for yourself. Forgiveness is really a selfish act, and it's a good selfish act. So when you're stuck in judgment of someone, no matter how justified you may feel, you are also keeping yourself stuck in a low-level vibration. And we know from the law of attraction that like attracts like. So that low vibration is going to attract more low-vibing stuff, more low-vibing negativity into your life. And it really limits your capacity for inviting in peace and joy. But when you let go, you surrender, when you forgive, you release yourself of all of that tension and trauma and tightness, and you free your energy up to create and allow in more love and light and creativity and lightness, as in like feeling lighter. And really, I don't think it can be stressed enough that forgiveness offers you, the person doing the forgiving, the freedom from the bondage of the judgment and sometimes even hate and anger. So by unloading all of this emotional burden, you're going to feel lighter and happier and more peaceful, and you're going to start to vibrate higher and attract all that you are really wanting in your life. So just keep that in mind next time you catch yourself holding on to some resentment or unforgiving behavior or thoughts. So the second myth that I want to talk about is that forgiving someone means that whatever they did is okay, or that it condones sin. And I want to be very clear that this could not be further from the truth. Forgiveness doesn't mean that you stay silent about injustice, or that you say, oh, that abuse is okay, or that act of extreme violence or murder or whatever it was is okay. That's not true at all. And you may even feel like through your forgiveness that you're more guided to speak up for yourself or others. But the key is to take spiritually aligned action. So showing up from a place of power through love and compassion, and operating through that motivation instead of anger and hate. And forgiveness doesn't mean that you have to stick around. And by all means, like if you are in an abusive relationship, whether it is emotional or physical, get out, get the hell out. You do not need or want to be around that. But at the same time, you can still forgive your partner or family member or whoever that may be. Maybe it's even someone from work, a boss. You can forgive that person for being abusive while still getting out of the toxic relationship. Accepting others where they are And forgiving them doesn't mean that you let someone walk all over you. It doesn't mean that you have to endorse what they're doing or say it's okay. It means that you allow them to be where they are and you don't try to change them. But it also means that you have to love yourself enough to remove yourself from that situation. And sometimes when we accept someone for who they are and we allow them to be who they are, then, that's really all we can do is accept and just say, I honor you where you are. I don't condone it, but I'm also not going to judge it. And I'm just going to allow you to be. And, you can see someone in the light without having them in your life at all. And this is a practice that I practiced a lot at one point in my life when I was working with a really toxic boss. And it turns out that he was a really bad man and was arrested later on and removed, thank goodness, from the work environment. But I was going through this whole process of just seeing him bathed in love and light and wanting as much love and light for him as I would for myself or someone that I love unconditionally. So this practice of seeing the other person that you're trying to forgive as a being of light, because really at their core, before they incarnated into this human body, they were love and light. And so just focusing on that. And again, this will help you remove yourself and get away from that cycle of resentment and judgment and anger. So you don't have to expend all that energy on judging them. Instead, you can just choose to be free. And if you're having trouble removing them from your thought process or your mindset, then I really do suggest seeing them doing the waterfall of light meditation. And that is just, and even cord cutting. Cord cutting is extremely helpful for this as well. So myth number 3 is that forgiveness is hard. And many people imagine forgiveness to be really long, arduous processes that require a lot of effort or like extreme prayer or pious commitment. And, don't get me wrong, forgiveness is definitely a process. It is not an overnight magical, ta-da, you're forgiven and all is well. No, it definitely takes practice, but it doesn't have to be hard. You just have to be willing. And I'm going to talk about some steps to work towards forgiveness in a minute. And of course, like so many of the messages that I teach from A Course in Miracles, willingness is always the first one. So the amazing thing about forgiveness is that it really requires very little, which if you're in this habit of judgment and resentment and hatred and anxiety and all the negative stuff that comes up, which, especially for a traumatic situation is totally understandable. But at some point you have to say, is this the world that I want to see? And if not, can I choose to see the world in a different way? And A Course in Miracles talks a lot about that. I am, one of the lessons is I am not a victim of the world I see. And it gives you that opportunity to be aware of what you are choosing to see in the world, even if you were a victim of horrible violence. How are you viewing that experience? Are you viewing it as a learning experience? Are you viewing it as a opportunity for growth? Or are you stuck in the victimhood? And, holding on to that rage, anger, hurt, resentment, you can definitely get caught up in the cycle, but it doesn't have to be forever. And all it takes is the slightest willingness to shift, and the universe will start to bring you more of that energy of willingness to shift towards more compassion and love and forgiveness. And definitely, even if you don't have a prayer practice per se, but inviting in your angels and your guides, inviting in source, whatever your definition of spirit or God or spiritual guidance is, invite that in and ask for help, because that also is part of that willingness. All right, so before I get too far down the rabbit hole and out of my little outline here, I'm going to start talking about the steps of forgiveness. All right. So, like I said, the first step is to be willing. And willingness, we have to be willing to let go of our stories. If you are committed to your personal path of growth and expansion, then you also have to sort of, be willing to change how you perceive things, to change how you think about things. And again, that willingness is just the little hit, just the little spark that the universe, that source, that the law of attraction will see and will say, oh, okay, you want some more of that? I'll bring you some more of that. So focus on the willingness. Again, if that means prayer or meditation, or maybe if you have a yoga practice, infusing a mantra of, I am willing to see things differently. I am willing to see this person from a place of love and light. I am willing, any of these I am willing affirmations, to infuse that in whatever movement meditation you have, whether it's while you're walking your dog, or even if you're, driving your car or brushing your teeth, you can start to infuse those mantras, and that will shift your vibration and start the law of attraction working for you in a positive way. So again, being willing to let go of the story that you've been telling. So a lot of times we get wrapped up in telling the story of, how we were hurt or how we were victimized. And, one of the things that Abraham and the law of attraction talks about is when you keep the vibration of something like that active, then you are perpetuating it. And so, and again, sometimes you feel called to maybe be an advocate for others that have been victims or abused in some way, shape, or form, and that's great. But also think about, are you telling it from a position of victimhood, or are you telling it from a position of empowerment? That yes, this happened, however, I learned this, I grew stronger by A, B, or C. These are the tools. So it's sort of like what I'm doing with you today is I'm bringing you the steps to develop a forgiveness practice. So definitely witness your story, recognize, where you are, because we all are where we are and we can't move forward or grow if we don't recognize where we are, but that doesn't mean stay there. So witness your story and thank it. Thank it for the lessons. Thank it for being a part of your life. Thank it for bringing you to where you are today, because without all of the experiences that we've been through, no matter how bad, we wouldn't be the amazing people that we are today, the bringers of the light, without all of these experiences and without all of these lessons that we've learned. And so, again, it's a process. So maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you're not willing to say, hey, thank you for this horrible thing that happened to me. But just knowing that it's a step along the way is even better than still being stuck in the vortex of all the negative emotion. So another aspect is to recognize that the problem is not outside of us, but inside of us. And this is also directly from A Course in Miracles. So the problem of not being able to forgive is something that is inside of our minds. We take what we perceive and we project it out, and that is just how we operate as humans. It is what it is. But it can be something that we learn how to mitigate. And so once we recognize that this problem of not forgiving, that this problem of judgment has nothing to do, like it might have been something that you perceive that happened to you, that you went through, but your willingness or lack thereof to move through it, to forgive, to come to a place of acceptance and then growth, that's all happening inside of you, and it's happening inside of your mind and your spirit. So be aware that really, if you're struggling to forgive, then that is an inside yourself problem, not an outside problem. Also, recognize that it is our choice to keep the problem active in our vibration. And I talked about this a little bit already. But again, be conscious of how you choose, or if you choose at all to talk about something. Maybe it's better if you don't talk about it so much, or if you only talk about it around certain people that you know will be helpful and healing for you. Maybe it's not a story that you need to share at the water cooler at work, or maybe it's a story that you don't want to share with your family, depending on your family dynamic, or, whatever it is. Maybe you have a therapist, and maybe that's the safe space where you talk about this story. Where, but again, don't keep it active in your vibration from the point of victimhood, because that vibration is what the universe will bring you. And we want to get to a vibration of healing and happiness and forgiveness, right? That's the whole point of today's subject matter. So, all right. So first, we are willing to see things differently. Second, we are being the witness and thanking this experience for what it has taught us. Now we are going to surrender and let it go. And again, this will involve for me, I grew up in a Southern Baptist environment, so the whole concept, I was familiar with the concept of prayer, but I didn't really jive with the way I was taught to do it. And so I came to my new definition of prayer through meditation. And so, I think a lot of meditation and prayer are one and the same. And so if you want to have a prayer of, angels and guides, please take this from me. Show me a new way of thinking. Show me a new approach. Show me how to view this with compassion, love, forgiveness, and grace. How about that? That was a nice little prayer. So call on whoever you resonate with, or maybe it's no one at all. Maybe it's nature. And just ask for that help of helping you shift through whatever block you have, or cut the cords that you have with the person or the situation. And all of those things will help you surrender, which is to release and let it go, hand it over to a source bigger than you that can transmute it up to love and light and dissolve it, and keep it from holding you down any longer, to set you free. Okay, the third thing about this is that this is a consistent practice. I talked about it before, but this will not happen overnight. I mean, if it does happen overnight for you, fantastic. I would love to hear about that story. But in my own personal experience, forgiveness is not something that happens overnight. So we need to be patient with ourselves, patient with our environment. Sometimes, again, it can be a quantum shift, but it takes a while for us to marinate in these new thoughts and these new practices, and to really witness the transformation that's going on both inside and outside of us, because we know that our outside world is a reflection of our internal condition. And so, like I talked about earlier with the law of attraction, that the longer we marinate in these new energetic spaces and these new ways of thinking, that we'll start to see manifestations of that in our outer world. And that's really the magic of it. And so whether it's, I think, especially at the beginning, having an intentional daily practice, to whether it's 30 days, 40 days, 90 days, whatever it is for you. But, set an intention for that day. And that could be the little prayer that I said. My intention today is for Spirit to take this from me and show me a new way of compassion, love, forgiveness, and grace. Please allow me to let go of this so I may make room in my life for more love and light. That's a simple little intention or mantra that you can set at the beginning of your day, and then take it with you and set a little reminder on your phone. So whether it's every hour, maybe just on your lunch break, a little reminder to bring that mantra or intentional statement back up, and for you to repeat it. to keep that active in your vibration, because that is that new, loving, compassionate, non-judgmental vibration that you want to bring in, that you want to activate, that you want to grow, because that's going to bring in so much more abundance in your life. So again, be consistent, but be patient and be gentle. This is going to be, and this is one of the things that I talked about with my friend, is that she was really at the moment frustrated that she had been doing all this work to move beyond the traumatic event that happened to her. And then there was literally like one simple trigger and she was like slingshotted backwards. And she was frustrated with herself and frustrated with the situation, blah, 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 all these things. But, it's like, that's okay. That's going to happen. So it's not about being perfect. It's how quickly we come back to our practice. How quickly can we recognize that, oh no, we're getting caught up in the vortex of negativity of our ego mind, and say stop. And then restart the process of being willing to see things differently, being the witness and thanking you for the lesson that it's taught you, being willing to surrender, and then being consistent with your practice. So all of those steps. And just going through that over and over and over until eventually you will have released it and you'll feel free and you'll feel at peace and you will be able to view the world through a lens of love, light, and compassion, forgiveness, and grace. I love that. I love all of those together. And that prayer itself came from a little snippet from Gabrielle Bernstein. As you guys know, I'm a student of hers as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's little talk about forgiveness. And again, what I read came from A Course in Miracles. It was lesson 121. And there were some little pieces of lesson 122 in there as well. I hope to hear some feedback. If you liked this, great. If you didn't like it, if you think I am totally out of touch and, out like way in an outer field, I am, willing and happy to hear that point of view as well. But I hope that I was able to give you some tools and to help you understand that wherever you are is where you are, and that's okay. Because again, this is something that we have to learn how to do. We were taught, like I said, from a very young age to see sin and maybe hold grudges. And so when we're learning about forgiveness and learning how to infuse it in our lives, it's a process. So I hope, again, that you receive this well, and I will catch you on the flip side of my next episode.